tell you
Let's
what, let's
see.
go ahead and get into Nissan news.
Yeah.
This is, of course, a part of the show where Miles and I, we each scour the internet and share an article that we like regarding Nissan, Datsun, and Infinity. These articles are sourced from the Nissan and Infinity official newsrooms and also can be scoured from the media outlets at large through the internet. And so, Miles, I think you've got the honors of giving us the first article tonight.
Oh, the first one. Let's see here. So straight out of the box, you might have seen this through the internet, and Michael will share the article here. What we're talking about. So
Sure.
this kind of came up on the car, at least the Z Nerds um, radar here recently, and you might have seen some pictures of this vehicle, like a brand new Z was tagged up with spray paint. And we didn't really understand the full concept of what was happening at the time, but some light has recently been shed on what was happening with those. It turns out that these vehicles wasn't just the Z; it was actually a few other Frontiers as well. These were all vehicles that were basically first run promo vehicles
Okay.
put together by Nissan. And Nissan was actually in the process of tagging these panels, in a sense to to tag the panels themselves in an effort to make sure they didn't go with anywhere. They didn't leave the vehicle because the entirety of the vehicle, each vehicle, actually needed to be crushed. This
Yeah.
article was actually
Ah.
released from, and we can credit everything to a group website called Car Scoops, where they actually have footage of them driving past the location where these vehicles are soon to be making their final voyage to Crushdom. So yeah,
Ah.
they were going to be out the way. Now, we originally thought it was a little festive, but it just turns out that they have to tag every single panel and part, and then they usually label the side of the cars with a number, which is what makes sense if you look at some of the photos. The rationale is that was the number of that vehicle that was labeled for tagging. So those vehicles,
Wow.
from what I understood, have now gone to I wouldn't say a better place, but they're no longer amongst the living from what I've been told. So it was just recently the light was just shed on what was actually happening with it. And there was some speculation that these were tagged, part of an insurance thing,
Hmm.
but then the reality kind of set in that they truly were vehicles that were first runs that were set to be crushed. So
And so what I'm thinking about too is that these were, pre-production models that were probably used, of course, for testing,
yeah. Mhm,
quality assurance. There's no, because of that, and I'm sure there's a bunch of improvements that they've made because of these test cars.
mhm.
There's no true way to tell whether these cars are fit for the road, and I think that's part of the, we might say,
Correct.
pr-
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, when Nissan does a run of some of these cars, sometimes and this is any auto manufacturer, you'd be surprised. You pop a hood, sometimes there's no engine in there. Sometimes it's actually just rebar pieces that are actually structured together on the vehicle. If you
Mhm.
pull up some of the prototypes, like the really legitimate prototypes where it was just kind of spinning in a circle and somebody's talking behind it, blah 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 blah. But you go and crack open these doors, and there's literally nothing in it. There's an egg cart for a seat. I mean, they don't want you to see inside those cars. So yeah, that's what happens. So don't get your hopes up. There may not be any wiring in these cars. There may not be any of that kind of stuff. So, or about going and stealing these parts and all that, or finding them before they get disassembled. The reality is, they're going to the crusher for good reason, and also to alleviate Nissan of the liability. We did an
Ooh.
article, God man, it must have been like 15 or so back, where we talked about them crushing, doing another run of these where they were crushing some of the minivan prototypes. Remember that? And
I do.
it was a really cool minivan that you and I like loved, but
Super concept, yeah,
it
it
was
was, like,
super
from the
crazy concept,
'90s,
and it
perhaps?
just like
Yeah.
it was, I think it was the Quest or something, but it was like the version of the Quest, the predecessor for all that. But yeah, they ended up crushing that, and it went to a crusher in the sky after that, or a
The
metal
crusher
recycler in
in
the
the
sky.
sky. The big
So
car junkyard in the
the
sky.
big
Yeah.
car junkyard in the sky. So yeah, but yeah, just wanted to
Racetrack in the
shed some
sky.
light on it. I thought it was a pretty interesting article, put some finality out there in regards to that car. So
In other words, they weren't vandalized. It wasn't like somebody. This isn't a bad part of town. This is protocol.
yeah, originally
That
I
we
thought the same thing. I thought it was vandalization, but it was not. In that fact, it turns out it was self-induced by Nissan on a way to a watery, crush-filled grave. I don't know how you want to say that, but yeah, there we go.
I, I was thinking about it too. That it's. I think it's more of a racetrack in the sky, not a junkyard in the sky. Because the racetrack is probably more where the car wants to be
We'll
versus a
say
junkyard.
the great recycler in the sky.
The great. Well, man. Again, it looks. I know there's. It's sad to see at times, but that's life. This is from day one we
Fast
knew this was
forward to
going to
6 years
happen.
from now, we'll see actual vehicles like this that are tagged up by angry girlfriends and angry
Ooh,
boyfriends. And, if your NBA team happens to win in your city, maybe we'll see a lot more of these tagged up in this fashion. It's just, it's not going to go, these won't be the last. So if you're excited
unfortunately.
about graffiti disease, there'll probably be some more pictures out there on the internet. But for now, this is all you get.